Eric, are you there?
Yep.
Okay, so sounds like a pretty good connection. Again, this is January 27th, 2014. It's 10:40 a.m. We had just done a conference call interview about the Advanced Seismic Warning System project. If you're listening to this right now, go to ericpdollard.com and click on the banner at the top of the page for the Save the Advanced Seismic Warning System, and that'll take you right into the Indiegogo campaign. And even if you can just donate $5, do so. If you can donate a lot more, please do so. There's 20 days left on that campaign. We're already at 50% of the $10,000 mark, which is what's needed for to secure the bond, and anything over that will be applied towards equipment. In this call, as some of you know, Eric has an official Facebook page. Basically, I manage that for him since he doesn't have access to a computer and he doesn't get into the internet and stuff. But Eric's Facebook page is facebook.com/Eric P. Dollard. P is for Paul, Eric's middle name. Again, that's facebook.com/Eric P. Dollard.com. Now, in this Facebook page, there's quite a few people in here that have posted questions. We probably won't have time to go into all of them, but what I'll do is I'll just go one right after another, and you can just give whatever kind of comment that you want on it. Okay, here's a comment by Stephen DuRoss. It says, "Hi Eric, I'm hoping you may be able to help. I'm trying to find a way I can build a low impedance electrometer that will pick up telluric currents. I have been using dowsing rods for years to show me where these lines are, but want something that will pick them up and enable me to measure their strength, the hertz, and direction. I'm wondering if there is any way you can help. Regards, Stephen."
Yeah, well, the problem is you have to get the necessary receiving device. It's not totally available.
Okay.
So basically what's needed is a microphone signal level balanced audio amplifier input, but then also an input network could be required to get rid of the Navy transmitters and navigation signals and other things that will tend to overwhelm the equipment. And then once you get to that point, you have to do a lot of fooling around with ground rods and field telephone wire to figure out what kind of directivities you're going to have in picking this current up. The one way to pick it up electrostatically with just for one location is the devices that Steve McGreevy makes. He custom makes them. I forget what his website's called.
AuroralChorus.com.
Yeah, there you can hear his work with his overground reception devices, picking up the aurora, and he sells these little electrostatic receivers that have the basic filtering requirements to pretty much suppress a lot of the Navy stuff, but not all of it. It still gets in there, but those are usually a good way to start. We've been trying to get a video demonstration of how to set this thing up and operate it, but the devices or cellular phones or maggot pods, as I call them, are not cooperating, so we're delayed in that.
Okay. Once we're done with this call and I get this on YouTube and everything, I'll put a link to this call as a response to everybody's questions, so they can just go and listen to this, and then that's where they can get their answer.
Right.
Okay, let's see. Now, Stephen DeRoss. Okay. Next person. Aries da Cruz. Dear Mr. Dollard, it seems you've been working at this for quite a while, and I'm wondering why it is that you do not have the system up and running, at least a prototype or something. And I don't know what system he's referring to. I'm purchasing a series of your books, which are sure to be beyond my gray matter, but I will try to inform myself with your ideas best I can. I'm smart enough, however, to put your materials into the right hands, that being the hands of some young electrical engineering talent, which I am willing to finance. I'm currently living and doing business in China, where they are starved for energy. second question, have you ever considered setting up lab here in China? Thanks for taking the time to read this.
So his first question is answered by, I have built all this stuff. I've taken it beyond the prototype level. I've taken it to an engineerable level, but it's all been systematically destroyed. And China is not particularly a place I want to go to because eventually we're going to be at war with China.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, this is from somebody named Richard Keene. Okay, he's just referencing a YouTube video. Saying this guy demonstrates how to make a monopole magnet. Not sure if that's a big deal or not. Immense thanks for all your work and my best wishes and all that you do. Yeah, and we probably won't be able. We're not going to be able to get into this YouTube video to even see what these people are doing, if they even are making a monopole magnet or not. I've seen a lot of those claims, but people are not really making a monopole magnet. They just think they are. But do you have any comments on a monopole magnet?
Well, the telluric transformers that I built on the Tesla designed are monopolar, but it's not magnetic, it's electrostatic. Mm-hmm. But you could say that it's monopolar magnetically because it does have a one-lead current output, the neutral. So in a certain sense, you could call it a monopolar electromagnet.
Okay.
But it's not direct current, it's alternating current.
Okay, this is from Yotam Gilad. Hi, I would like to hear your opinion of the, in quotes, polar vortex phenomenon. Wishing you a glorious new year.
Well, I don't know. You know, they make up names for every year. They got a different name for the same thing. So all of this weather complication derives from the fact that this particular solar cycle is a dead one, and it looks like the sun's not going to cycle anymore. It's going to go into a period of dim out, and that's causing a massive change in the climate. And this is all coming about by a split. The jet stream now is split in half. So half of it is going through heading towards the equatorial latitudes, and the other half is going over the poles, and that creates a hot spot in the coast of the United States and a very cold spot on the west coast of the United States, the hot spot, and then towards the east coast, it gets proportionately colder. The average value of the temperature, of course, will be the same because one cancels the other, so there is no real change in the temperature of the Earth. There's just a change in how the temperature is configuring itself. And, of course, this leads to a condition of a massive drought in the western United States.
This is from Ingrid McLean. Hi, Eric. Discovered you today from a banner at the top of a forum. Fantastic work. I'm working on a book on Commons Beaumont and catastrophism, which takes in grids, hence Kathy, Vedic maths, and Tesla 2. I have a chapter on the power grid where I touched on what you were saying without knowing you had said it, and obviously I don't have the knowledge you do. It was just a hunch. Maybe you would like to write a bit for me to include. Also, would be happy to feature your stuff on our site. We publish Uvarov as well as Commons Beaumont. Have a look. Just finishing a new site for online magazine or similar. We'll be needing interviews and articles soon. Okay, so I'll take a look at their websites. Maybe they can, sounds like they're interested in maybe doing an interview or a paper on some of your work, and maybe even being a ClickBank affiliate where they can offer your books on their website. Okay, so I'll take a look at that after. Are you familiar with any of those names? I know the Kathy, he became
pretty popular with his, I forget, it was Earth grid theories or what have you, but it appeared to be a numerological thing. I never really found much there that helped me out, but at any rate, he does have a large number of followers.
Right. Yeah, I read one of his books years ago, one of his Earth grid books.
I think in that regard, it's better to go the route of Jerry Vassilatos.
For any of the Earth grid type stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Next. Okay, this is from Joshua Frisbee. Thank you for the work you are doing. This is a complete understatement to my gratitude and excitement. I'm fascinated with the brilliance of Tesla, the history and pursuit of energy, and the truth about our current systems. Really, thank you. I would like to learn more about what you're doing and possibly get involved. Is there room for help in the future? If there is room for help in the future. Best of luck, Eric. I hope to see you succeed. Okay, so it's just a comment of support from Joshua Frisbee. Now, when people ask if there's room to help you with anything in the future, do you have any comments? Because I also recently received an email from somebody who's an engineering student at one very well-known university on the East Coast, and he was actually wondering if there's any way to get into some type of like apprenticeship program or something with you.
Well, that's kind of difficult because a lot of what I do is outdoors. There's also a security clearance complication, so trying to get somebody through that, I'm not really equipped for that because it's been has became glaringly evident at the Landers installation is the people that show up to help are commonweal saboteurs, and it's very difficult to determine them. Also, they might not be allowed within some of these government facilities, so I don't know quite how to go about that. But, I mean, I can use all the help I can get, but right now I don't have enough materials to really get a bunch of people working on stuff or the space or the means to accommodate all of that. But so, if there's any linemen around that want to help climb telephone poles, that is an open position right now. Okay.
And so if you are qualified for something like that, you're listening to this and you're interested,
the best way for people to interact with me is the Lone Pine Post Office.
Okay, so you can write Eric directly to express your interest in that if you do have that type of background to Eric Dollard, General Delivery, Lone Pine, California, and is that 93545?
Yeah, 93545. So there hasn't been a lot of letters recently. I usually look forward to people's letters because when I move into my hole in the bushes there, it kind of gives me something to work on during the day when I'm not hiking. The Facebook thing, of course, I never see. I don't look at the internet or have any access to that, or don't even encourage other people to do it either. So the best, if you write me a letter, very often you'll get detailed diagrams or descriptions or whatever it is, or I might say something bad about what it is that you said, so you might have to be prepared for that. But at any rate, you will get a response unless it's completely nutso, and there pretty much hasn't been anybody so nutso that I don't at least write them back saying that I received their letter. So I don't. Right now, I'm traveling around so much on so many extremities of these projects that it might take a while. You might have to wait a month or a month and a half, but when I do collect my mail, I donate 2 or 3 days at that location to write everybody back.
Okay. Let's see. Yeah, and I'm skipping a couple comments where people are talking about their own theories and stuff like that. We don't really have time to get into. Here is just a comment from Freed M. Kahn. Hello, Eric. The information in your book is amazing, and I'd love to talk to you a bit. My research has incredible strong correlations to yours. I wrote a paper, and in correlation to each, ternary math, Vedic math, cyclic harmonic phase interference maps, and goes into a couple different things, cymatics and other stuff. He has plans to build a new piece of computer upgrade excuse me, to make our machines finally alive, real-time response calculations based on life cycles of functions. Okay, please send me your email address because I don't want to write here on Facebook this kind of information. Okay, so to Freed M. Khan, I would say go ahead and just write a, send a letter directly to Eric at that same address, Eric Dollar General Delivery, Lone Pine, California, 93545, and Eric will write you back. Let's see. Okay, this is just a question from Peter Ciuria, or Ciuria. Apologize, probably not pronouncing that right. He's asking, is there an upcoming event in the Bay Area where you will be speaking?
No, everything in the Bay Area is pretty much in opposition to my work. In fact, that's the capital of the opposition to my work.
Okay, so Peter, if you're the 2014 Science and Technology Conference, you can go to ericpdollar.com, and there'll be a conference banner at the top of that. You can click on that, and if you want to come up to Hayden, Idaho, which is right next to Spokane, Washington, you'll be able to see Eric present there and also do some live demos like we talked about in the interview we just did an hour ago. There's all kinds of other, conferences and stuff happening. If there's any offers to have Eric speak at their conference, all I can do is just relay them to Eric, and it's up to him whether he wants to go speak at them or not. So, but as it stands right now, the 2014 Science and Technology Conference at the end of June is the only one which is on the schedule for now. Let's see. Anatoly Kishinevsky. Hi, Eric. I've been watching your videos all over the internet with great appreciation. I work as a materials scientist and can understand where you're coming from. On a separate note, I am a Toyota enthusiast. Do you still have your car? Keep your coolant system fresh. I've had several of those cars with the original 30-year-old coolant and quickly had overheating issues because the radiator passage is clogged. I am sure you know. What version of Corolla is yours exactly? 1984 liftback? Just curious. Keep up the good work. Sincerely, Anatoly.
Yeah, it's the late 70s Celicas and the 1980 Corollas. All that I have left is the 1980 Corolla, either the liftback or the fastback. I have both here, lacking a station wagon. I have over 650,000 miles on the main unit. I don't have cooling system clogging problems because the car is operated Navy shipboard standards and only distilled water is used in the cooling system. Tap water will get you court-martialed. And I am definitely looking for more cars. The main complication I'm facing now is as the world dies around me and everything disappears, is I can no longer get the high-profile 13-inch tires I need. That is a major complication. Anybody has 185 80 R13 tires, I sure can use them. That's my main hassle right now. They really want to get rid of that car. It's even like getting spark plugs and whatever is a fight. It's deliberately being pushed out of any possibility of existence. If I wasn't an engineer, I wouldn't be able to fight all these things. But at any rate, there is no reason why a car of that quality of manufacture shouldn't operate forever. A number of people, go, I used to have a car like that, and I ask them, well, I still have mine. Why don't you have yours?
Okay, this is from Warren G. Hello, I was wondering if you could direct me to a book of yours where you explain the differences of AC and DC spark input to a Tesla coil. Are there differences? I'm trying to design high-frequency, high-voltage power supply for a vortex coil with a resonant frequency of 30 kilohertz based on Tesla's equations for resonance. I'm wondering if I should make it AC or DC. Your input would be much appreciated. Thanks, Warren.
Well, it has to be alternating current. A DC won't accomplish anything unless you're going to use an interrupter or something to convert it into alternating current. Without knowing the application, I can't specify if it's going to be impulses or sine waves or exactly how to go about it. In the 30 kilocycle range, Tesla typically used an alternator, which would be difficult to build. The other option is to use a vacuum tube oscillator, an amplifier. But again, without knowing what kind of waveform is desired in the output, I can't really say what kind of waveform to put in the input.
Okay. Okay, this is from Peter Nazanek. Hello, Mr. Dollard. I have a brief question. There's something I do on the internet called cold electricity, ? Just as electricity is not the nature of the electron, no electron flow, Mr. Tesla experimented with that, said, is it true? English not very good, so I need a short and direct answer. Any comment on the non-electron flow electricity that Tesla's talking about?
Well, in general, electrons don't really represent the flow of electricity. They represent the rate of its destruction. So the actual electrical currents are ether-based and not material-based. And that's usually referred to as Maxwell's displacement current.
Okay.
And the term cold electricity usually comes from the impulse type of operation where there's a lot of corona and ozone production and illumination, but it doesn't necessarily produce a lot of heat. But nevertheless, it's not a refrigeration process. It's just an electricity that isn't hot because it doesn't have a lot of average power. So the term cold electricity has kind of been coined and bandied about in a lot of different ways, but it's not something I can definitely speak on because there isn't much that occurs where electricity exhibits a cold phenomena other than Tesla found in some of his discharge tubes that the cathode would refrigerate and the anode end of the bulb, which was the end of the glass tube, would heat up. And also there appears to be a phenomenon of exchanging energy with capacitors where the capacitors will get cold in the operation. These are two things that Tesla observed in his work where the components actually started to refrigerate.
Uh-huh.
But as far as any experimental observations of that on my own, I've never really had a sophisticated enough system together of the disruptive discharge type to duplicate that particular aspect. The missing element in all of the Tesla impulse designs is the high-speed mercury interrupter, which no one has ever really been successful in duplicating. The spark gap method usually fails miserably and does not give you the desired results. It only approximates it, and the circuits that everybody are using are also not correct. I have covered that in the past and have corrected those circuits. I think in a very early work I wrote on Condensed Intro to the Tesla Transformer, a lot of these details are discussed in there. And with regard to the cold aspects of electricity, there was a guy by the name of Thomson, not the J.J. Thomson, but a different Thomson, that wrote a book called Röntgen Rays and Phenomena of the Cathode and Anode by E. Thompson. That discusses a lot of Tesla's experiments that have been left out of all the other books. And I think the reference to the refrigerating cathode is in there.
Okay. Let's see. This is from John Delaire. Please continue these conference calls. Your integrity and time are deeply appreciated. Thank you for being shepherds of sheep. Does Mr. Dollard hold any doctorates? I would like to know if I should address him as Mr. or Doctor. Thank you.
Well, people keep putting PhD on the end of my name, so maybe I should consider myself one. I mean, I've done the studying, but I was never interested in the degrees. because that usually carried too much baggage with it. But I did engage in very long intervals of study in the university on my own independent research, and have read over hundreds and hundreds of books on this subject. So I am regarded by the present government agency that I'm working with. They do address me as Dr. Eric Dollard, PhD. So I guess if it's good enough with them, it's good enough with me.
I actually read that paper. I saw it, Eric Dollard, PhD.
Yep.
And they referred to you as Dr. Dollard for sure.
Well, the impression was made, so they think that I operate on that level, and I do. That's why I'm getting to do the things that I can do here, because the piece of paper doesn't matter. What I write and what I say indicates that I have that level of knowledge.
Well, if anybody would have a doctorate or should have a doctorate in this field, it's definitely you.
Well, maybe I do and don't know it, because when I rejoined the RCA station after a long interval of absence and the station getting screwed up by various forces, the technicians there did remark that the Radio Corporation of America, or what was left of the organization, did regard me as a PhD.
Okay.
And apparently they felt that I derived that from my solar terrestrial work and HF studies at Sonoma State University, which I do. I consider that as a doctorate work. So when I graduated from high school, I was already competent as an electrical engineer and held all the major FCC licenses to operate as a radio engineer. But ultimately, it's immaterial what kind of name you put on things.
Okay, this is from Harry Gale. Just discovered your video talking about the sun. This is serendipitous to my discovery of my grandfather's letter to my father mentioning the Jupiter effect. I plan on reading up more on your work and also find my grandfather's info on sunspots. I would very much like to thank you for your currently available info. Possibly in the future I might have a question for you, but for now you have done so much already, I won't bother you further. Just a brief introduction and word of thanks. Harry. Do you want to mention what the Jupiter effect is?
Well, there was a book written by that title that was describing what could come out of an upcoming planetary alignment and solar cycle 22, which did come about. That's when I did my study at Sonoma State with the assistance of RCA, which had already determined these things in the 50s. RCA had been using radio astrology for well over a decade to predict HF circuit requirements of what frequencies and what fades were going to occur and that kind of thing. So I'd say, even though the end of the world didn't come out of it like the book suggested, did knock the Earth silly on its orbit, so much so that the clocks had to be changed a very small amount, about what's called the leap second. It was some of the hottest and highest velocity solar gaseous ejections ever recorded. The solar flux rose to levels that were never recorded before, and all this coincided with the planetary alignment. So I'd say with some of the predictions that didn't totally pan out, for a popular understanding, the book The Jupiter Effect is probably one of the best books you can get on the solar terrestrial relationships.
Okay. Let's see. This is from Ivan Vedic I. Hi, can we get the book Four-Quadrant Representation of Electricity by sending cash on delivery or some other method, not using credit cards as payment method? Yeah, if you want to purchase any of Eric's books or videos, at least what we have available through A&P Electronic Media, you can send a money order or personal check or cashier's check made payable to A&P, that's A&P Electronic Media, P.O. Box 713, Liberty Lake, Washington 99019. Inside there, just include a letter of what you're purchasing, and then give us an email address. Please spell it out in all capital letters so it's easy for us to read, and then we'll send you the download link. And when I put this up on YouTube, I'll have the payment address and stuff at the bottom. But that's how you can do it. Let's see. Okay, there's just a comment from Steven Sanchez. Hi, Eric. I watched a few of your videos. Thank you so much for the info. It's about time for this all to come out. Great work, Steven. Okay, it's just a supportive comment there. Okay, this is from Organite El Paso. Hello, crew. My name is Armando Blanco. Yesterday, I happened to come across a ton of tubes. After reviewing them yesterday, I noticed some were just crazy looking. They were donated to me because I had used a radio tube as a body for a sculpture. Some of these tubes just don't look like what they should be used as sculptures, so I'm here. Take a look at these photos, and if any of these rare ones that you guys can put to better use, please let me know. All I request is a conversation with Mr. Dollard via letter. It's only about orgonite and orgone research. I just like his take on a few ideas. So without further delay, then he posted 4 pictures. Orgonite El Paso. Okay, go ahead and write Eric Dollard a letter to Eric Dollard, General Delivery, Lone Pine, California, 93545, and then just put your letter in there about these tubes and whatever questions you have. And if you can print out a picture of these tubes, maybe Eric can circle the ones he might be interested in, send you those pictures back, and then you can mail him those tubes if you want. Or actually, I'll be having a address of Steve Hills where you can actually send any of this type of these tubes and stuff if Eric is interested in them.
Yeah, even the tubes that I don't use, I can horse trade with the tube dealers to get the tubes that I do need.
Okay.
So basically, any type of vacuum tube other than kind of like, Compractron TV tubes, those are pretty much, in the surplus business, we just throw most of those straight in the garbage. But any of the older, like RCA radio tubes from the 30s and 40s, Western Electric tubes in particular, Navy radar tubes, that type of stuff, sub-miniature receiving tubes, all of that type of stuff is useful or can be exchanged for stuff that is.
Okay, this is from Tom Effilnuck. I apologize, I know I'm not getting any of these names correct, but hi, Mr. Dollard. Thank you for your sublime effort. Do you know anyone actively experimenting in Southeast Queensland, QLD, NSW in Australia? Please, whom may I be able to liaise with? Just a quick question to confirm my understanding, please. The prime mover that Tesla tuned in for his electrical power generators is the eternal conjugating flux between magnetic and electrostatic boundaries? Question mark. The current that. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not really. That's how electricity comes about. But when he's saying prime mover, he's asking where the source of the energy is. That was never really specified. That's is kind of the mystery in this situation.
Okay. He says the current that forms could be termed as electromagnetic current / harmonic current or impulse current, as it contains all frequencies of the electromagnetic spectrum within it. When it flows, it's resisted. It converts into photons. Is that why Tesla glowed when in a closed circuit with his generator?
Well, the thing is what has to be realized is Tesla's systems and technology were not electromagnetic, they were electrostatic. And then electrostatic is not really a good word to use, even though it's become commonplace, because most of it was hardly anything static. Impulse currents are the least static thing you possibly could have. They're completely disruptive transients that jump from one state to another and in rapid succession, so there's nothing static about it. So the proper term is to use the one that Faraday originally coined and Steinmetz applied to to correct that semantically, and that's dielectric. So we're dealing with a dielectric technology, a dielectric phenomena. Electromagnetism is actually an interfering element in this type of work.
Okay, and then his final question here just says, space-time exists between the electrostatic and magnetic boundaries. Matter appears at their intersections. As the intersections flux, matter appears to flux in space-time, or is this a bit too simplistic?
Yeah, it's kind of hard to describe things in terms as easy as that because, you know, these are things that have befuddled the thinkers and experimenters for quite some time, and no one has really resolved this yet, how ether turns into matter and vice versa.
Right. And it just says, thanks again for your attention. Kind regards, Tom. And do you know anybody in Southeast Queensland and Australia doing anything?
No, I know. You know, I'm pretty isolated, so pretty much all I know about is what's in front of me.
This is from Jamie Lee Wolf. Hi, Eric. I just ran across your lecture on YouTube on your theory of anti-relativity. You mentioned briefly that the Earth is filled with energy, in parentheses, she writes magnetic waves. Is it possible to hear these magnetic waves? I'm just curious. I'm not a student of electricity or physics. I'm just curious. Thanks. Have a nice day, Jamie.
Well, if you knew the frequencies and the wavelengths and all the stuff that this energy moved at, there would be a way to tap into it, and that's what Tesla had proposed to do, but the specifics of that are not really totally worked out. And my focus is not so much on energy, but the electrostatics and the telluric end of it. I believe that there's a technology that exists where energy is not even part of what's going on, and that's the realm that I'm going in. I think the whole concept of energy was a wrong turn right from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And that things need to be dealt with in a different fashion that don't result in a frictional heat generating and pollution generating system that constantly destroys electricity at a rate in which to turn it into energy, because that's basically the definition of energy, is the rate at which electricity is created or destroyed in a system. I wrote about that extensively in the Lone Pine writings to get a better idea of what I'm talking about. So I do not look at things in the term of energy, and so you can't really call me an energy researcher because I'm looking for a way out of that whole mind state.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Tesla had discovered a technology that was purely electrostatic and that energy wasn't a factor anymore. And that would be why you would have lumination without heat and similar such phenomena. Now, a lot of this connects with the Reich-Orgone concept.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the whole conception of the cosmic induction generator, I had arrived at that at RCA at the same time I studied the work of Wilhelm Reich, and particularly his book Cosmic Superimposition. And then, lo and behold, electrically, I had such an event occur on the workbench with the so-called galaxy in the light bulb, and had figured that Reich's theory of cosmic superimposition is actually valid. And when I found, like recently, energy will disappear into this area and galactic formations were shown to come out of it previously with other experiments in the past, then even though Reich is kind of a nutso, he hit on a aspect of electrostatics and dielectricity that has never been touched.
So I'll get this up on YouTube as soon as possible, and every single person's question who we asked. Thank you for your questions. Hope we answered those to your satisfaction. There's a handful of questions or comments I didn't get into because we couldn't really get into these referenced videos or papers and stuff that you're talking about. And so once this is on YouTube, I'll just post a YouTube link as a response to all these people. That way they can just go in and listen to this and get their questions answered. Also, if you're wondering why it took so long to answer some of these questions go back to the middle of November, is because, for one, Eric has not been, at least up here to Spokane, where he has access to the Internet with me, so we couldn't really go over these together. And when I'm down when I go down to the lab where Eric's at, there's hardly any internet connection at all, so we can't really go over these things together. And Eric has been very busy working with Justin on some different projects and getting all this telluric stuff together, so we haven't had a lot of time to do this kind of phone interview. But at least we got a bunch of these answered, and we can do these in the future. I'll get this up on YouTube right away. So anyway, Eric, thanks a lot for your time.
Okay, you're welcome.
Hopefully everybody enjoys hearing from you again, and we'll do something like this in the near future. Whenever you're at a phone, just let me know, and we can, do more of these kind of interviews.
Okay.
So
good.
Okay, well, I'll be in touch. Thanks, Eric, and good luck with your car, and we'll be in touch.
Okay.
Okay, thanks a lot, Eric. Okay,
bye.
bye-bye.